Hello folks, welcome to my channel Java Demystified by SSR. Here comes the question number 17. What is class and object in Java? Let's demystify this question. So let me open my Sublime. What is class and object? So as part of object-oriented programming, we understood OOP is based on object model. Object model comprises of class and object. So any object oriented programming, you start your program with classes and object. Let's understand what is a class. A class is an abstraction. That means a class is logical, which is not the physical thing that we see, that we touch, etc. It's just an abstraction. As an example, person. Person is an abstraction. Book is an abstraction. Car is an abstraction. Animal is an abstraction. They don't exist in reality. They are just logical. Okay? So a class in object-oriented programming is represented as a rectangle. So let me make up a rectangle over here. A class has two compartments. Let's say this class name is customer class. Yeah, so this is the customer class. So now two compartments. The first compartment is actually data members. Okay, so what data will be there for a customer class? So customer ID, customer name, then customer balance, and many as well. So this is actually a data member part. Variables. A class has two compartments. One is data members, other is actually a method members. So what will the methods will do in a class? The methods actually will act on the data members. Okay, then some behavior is exhibited. That behavior actually that behavior actually will be the implementation that we write as part of the methods. Okay, I have three members as of now here, so I want to display all those data. So I have a behavior display, and then I have some behavior to check the balance which is available. So check balance, and so on actually. So based on the data members that you have in a class, you will be having the method members. Usually the customer class, the data members list is a huge list actually. Customer in a bank, and customer in a bank has several behaviors. So this is a class actually. It's an abstraction, and I'm saying logical. Why I'm saying it is abstraction logical? Because here the customer will have certain properties and certain methods, but it will not physically represent to any entity. So the entities, the physical entities will come whenever we create objects for this particular class. So that we see as part of this object. Yeah, let's now understand class alone. Class is an abstraction which is logical, and a class is considered to be a blueprint that defines objects of a certain kind. That defines objects of some kind. It's a blueprint actually. As an example, if you actually construct some house or some apartment, you will have a blueprint, a model created. That is actually a class, but that is not actual flat, or that is not actual house where you go and stay over. That is just a blueprint that's on a paper. That's a model. But from that particular blueprint or model, you can actually create a house, an apartment where you can go and stay. The flat or apartment where you are staying, that means your flat or your house or somebody's house or somebody's flat is an object. But that blueprint is class. This is logical. That's not the real house, or that's not the real apartment. A class also can be considered as a template which is used to create objects. It's just a template. As an example, the most of the people who are actually watching my videos, maybe job aspirants on Java, right? So you will have a resume, right? That is your resume. Your resume is an object. But for that resume, there is a template. There is a template. So the template you fill in and your resume is ready. The template is actually logical. That's an abstraction. That's not real. But when you fill in that template, your resume comes out. That's an object actually. So a class is a template which is used to create objects. In number of ways we can actually understand a class. A class is an ADT, abstract data type. That means all the classes that we create will act as data types. That means you can create variables of that type. For example, I have a class person, then I can have the variables p1, p2, p3 until so on pn, which are actually referring to objects of a person class. Yeah, so what actually a class contains data members, method members, and it contains constructors also, special methods. And a class can also contain static methods, non-static methods, static data, non-static data, static blocks, and so many things, right? So these are all as part of abstraction only. Okay, so now let's come to the physical thing that will be created from this particular abstraction. So that is nothing but object. So how to define an object or how to understand an object? Object is a real world entity. So object is physical, which is real world, which is runtime entity, which has state, behavior, and identity. Which has state, that means the data, the values for those properties which are defined in a class. Behavior means the methods which are acting on that particular data. And identity, that means the object should be uniquely identifiable. So for this particular customer class, now I can have n number of objects created. So how I am doing that? See, this customer class, from this customer class, I can have several objects. N number of objects created. You can create n number of objects from a class. So usually we represent object as a circle. So this is one object and this is other object and this is one more object and this is one more object and this is other object. So you can actually have objects of different kinds. You can have one more object here, you can have one more object here, and number of objects can be created from a class actually. So let's say this is C1, customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, customer 4, and customer n. So now in object, what we will have state, we will have the state. For example, C1 has the following state. So C1 customer ID is, let's say, 111 and customer name is some ABC and customer balance is some 45,678 is the amount actually. In the same fashion, if you go to some other customer, let's say this is customer 3, this customer CID is 123 and whose name is some XYZ and got some balance equals to some amount. In the same fashion, all these objects will have different values. So these are real world entities. I am a customer, you are customer, somebody else is a customer who will have some customer ID, customer name, balance, address, and so many details as part of your specification of your class. So an object is a real world entity which has state, behavior, and identity, which is uniquely identifiable from other objects. So that's why a customer is a class, a specific customer, like I am a customer object, you are a customer object, some X is customer object, some Y is customer object. So that's why as far as the example which I'm telling. So for example, if you take a dog is a class, my dog, your dog, and somebody's dog are objects. Car is a class, my car, your car, that car, this car are objects, but car is a class that just defines some variables and methods, that's it. But an object will have the state, the values for those properties. Okay, yeah, so it is a runtime entity, and when you know what is class and what is an object, you can always say an object is an instance of a class. Object is considered to be an instance of a class, and one can have n number of instances created from a class. Okay, so this is about class and object. So let me clear all these drawings. Yeah, so let's now go to a program. So where I have my customer class written. So this is the customer class, public class customer, and CID, CNAME, and balance, and of course bank. So these are all the data members. I have 4 data members. Of course, one static member and 3 are instance members. We know already instance members will be associated with an object, and static members will be associated with the class. So they are allocated separately in the class area or method area, right? So these 4 are actually my variables part, data members part, and then I have 3 methods. One is set customer method, where all these instance members are getting set. So CID, CNAME, and balance we are actually setting as my local members, and the instance members. These local members and instance members are same. We are using this, right? This dot CID refers to the current object's CID. Then I have check balance method, which actually prints me balance, and get customer method, which actually give me the details of all these CID, CNAME, balance. Of course, here I actually have static member as well, right? So I'm printing that particular static member as well, that is bank. Okay, so now here these are the data members, and there are actually 3 methods. I don't have any constructor, so when this is compiled, the compiler gives me a constructor that is a default constructor, hence the total number of methods will be 4 actually. So if you observe what actually these methods are doing, these methods are actually acting on this data, right? So from the data the methods will be derived. So when the data changes, there exists some behavior. That behavior actually we capture with the methods actually, right? So that's how methods will come. So if you in contrast with the procedure oriented programming languages, the focus over there is on methods only. Much of emphasis is on methods rather than data. But here in OOP, emphasis is on data, and the methods are actually drawn from that particular data. That's a major difference from POP to OOP. Okay, so in the same fashion, I have a class called student. Here also I have data members and method members, and I have roll number and name instance members, and one class member, that is college. Usually static members will be initialized, so college is Harvard, and roll number and name need to be constructed if at all you have a constructor or a setter method. So instead of setter method, I have actually a constructor which is constructing roll number and name. So both local and instance are same, so we are using this. And I have another method called toString method. So this toString method is actually a method. toString method is a method actually from object class, and here we are overriding this toString method to print roll number, name, and college whenever the object reference is printed. So here I have only 2 methods. One is constructor, so compiler will not be supplying any other constructor, and one toString method which we are overriding and printing this roll number, name, and college. So when you compile, you have 3 data members and 2 method members, whereas in customer you have 4 data members and 3 methods directly, and 1 constructor will be supplied, so 4 method members. So this is how the classes are organized. Now I have not created objects. These are just abstractions. Customer.java is an abstraction and student.java is an abstraction, because in reality there is no student, no customer exists. They are just logical. But I am a student, you are a student, and some S1 is student, S2 is student, or some C1, C2 are um, objects. Okay, so you can actually create objects from the class. How do we create objects for these classes which we have defined? So before that, let me actually compile this, both of these classes. So I have Java C student.java, I have compiled, so compiled successfully, and then I have my customer Java C customer.java. So this is also compiled. So dot class files are available for me. Now I can actually create objects of those classes, and actually I can execute my program with main method. So now I have an executable class, test class. This customer class is just a business class. There is no main method, and my student class is also a business method. There is no main method. So that means these two are non-executable classes. Now test class, which is having a main method actually, public static void main string array aux. So this is an executable class. So in this class, what actually I am doing is I am trying to create objects, which are real-time entities or real-world entities or runtime entities. So what actually happening in this test class is, in this particular test class, I am creating an object of my class customer, and I have another class also called student. So what I'm doing is, from customer class, I am creating an object. This is my object actually, and this is actually created from this only one class I am creating, one object I am creating. In the same fashion, for the student class as well, I am actually creating only one object, and this is the object. Okay, so this object actually customer C1. So this object is being referred by C1. So this is C1, and this object actually is S1, student S1. So if you observe here, so customer C1 equal to new customer, and student S1 equal to new student of some values, because I have a parameterized constructor written in this particular student uh, class. We see the student class, I have a parameterized constructors. That's why when I am instantiating an object, I am actually calling or invoking that particular parameterized constructor. Okay, so now if you see, in the same fashion, we can actually create n number of objects for this customer class and this student class as well. So I know there are some methods in customer class like set customer, which actually taking 3 parameters, and I have a method check balanced, which will provide me the balance, and get customer will provide me the details of that customer. In the same fashion, student class actually has a constructor. I am invoking this constructor, and in student class we are overriding the toString method. So whenever we are printing S1, so it is S1 dot toString. So whatever the business logic we have written in the toString is going to come. So in the toString method, we have actually written uh, to uh, to get the values of roll number, name, and actually college. Okay, so this is how you are actually creating an object here, and here we are actually creating the object. Okay, so let me actually compile this. So let me go to my terminal here. Yeah, so let me compile this test class, test.java. It's compiled successfully, and whenever I run this particular Java space test, this is not test.main actually, so main method was there, executable, so it will actually print the details. See what is actually getting printed. Check balance actually giving me what is the balance value which I have set, and then these are the customer details. So the customer ID is 1234, ABC is the name, and this is the balance, and the bank is SBI. And these details are from S1 actually. Whenever you say system.out.println S1, so that is nothing but S1.toString. So you are actually getting the roll number, name, and the college. Okay, so in the same fashion, we can actually create n number of objects. So customer C2 equals to a new customer. Okay, so And in the same fashion, we can actually create array of objects also. So you want to create 100 customers, you can actually create an array of customers. In the same fashion here, if at all you want to create another student object, you can do like this: student s2 equals to a new student, and you need to pass actually the roll numbers. Let's say this is 110, and the name actually is some ASDF. Okay, the same fashion here also you can create n number of objects. So you want to create 100 objects, you can actually, you have to write like this: so student s of 100 student you want to create, student s of 100 equals to a new student of, sorry, so student array s equals to new student of how many you are going to create. So new student of 100. So this is how you can actually do. In the same fashion here also, an array of objects, customer c array equals to a new customer of how many customers the SBI contains. So for example, you want to create 1,000 objects, you can actually make use of 1,000 in the array subscriptor. So here what actually happens, an array will get created with 1,000 customer objects. Here an array will get created with 100 student objects. So what you are actually going to pass is actually the next part. Okay, so this is how actually you can create an array of objects. So from a class you can create n number of objects, right? So here I have C1 and C2 as per this particular program. So S1 and S2. So here what I can do is system.out.println. I can actually uh, copy paste this, and I can print the values of S2 as well. So, and in the same fashion, customer C2 equal to new customer, and you want to get the details, you want to set the details, right? So yeah, so these three things you can copy and paste again, and we will get, actually we have to provide the details. Let's say this is the customer ID is 2345 and the name is some ABCD, and we have some balance, that's it, and check balance, get customer. These are the methods which actually retrieve some values, um, which will retrieve actually some values from your object, right? So let me now compile this test actually, because we have changed this. Yes, it's successfully compiled. So now you have two objects, so you will get the details of two objects, Java test. And if you see, this is about the first object, and then this is about the second object we have created, and this is about first student, and this is the second student. In the same fashion, you can actually create n number of objects. If required, you can make use of array of objects as well. Okay, so this is about class and object in Java. Hope you have understood these two terms clearly. So if you understood properly, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and thanks for watching.